Hi, mentors. In this video, we talk about page 1 of the student workbook of Meeting 6, which is the introduction. Look at this circular stadium. In the center of the ceiling, there's a camera P with a rounded 360 degrees view down the stadium. So it's a point in this region that can move 360 degrees in all directions. And you could think it's kind of shooting rays and getting a sense of what it sees and what it doesn't see. The camera can turn right round through all degrees, so 360 in all directions. And so we'll say that the camera has access to all places in the stadium. So we'll call that 100% coverage. Let's think for which other shapes, no matter where we place the camera inside, we'll always have a total 100% view. And for which shapes it's impossible to cover with just one camera. So we want students to really draw shapes here, draw examples in their whiteboards or in papers, and try to describe general features about this shape. So you want to start basic, just drawing things, and little by little relate those pictures and try to abstract some of the key properties from the good shapes and the not so good shapes where you couldn't actually cover it all with a camera. Let's take a look a little bit before describing more deeply the solutions at this part of the software. Anywhere you have a triangle, you will be able to succeed. No matter where you place the camera, you'll get coverage with rays. So if I'm in the center and I'm start kind of shooting rays in all directions, I have no blocks. I can always reach any point on the triangle. It's more interesting than if I pass to 4 sides. If I have a rectangle, same story. Anywhere I place it, I will be able to see. So you could think that I'm creating like a circle around the center, and I'm not getting blocked at all. But what happens when I deform this a little bit? So let's make first something like this, so that there's some corner, something like this. I can still win. So it's still kind of rounded inwards or curved inwards. It still feels like a circle. Of course, it's not, and it has these sharp edges, but it doesn't matter. I can still win the game with just one camera. What happens though if I do something like this? Like an arrow, right? Type of a thing. So I can still win by placing my camera here, but if I go inside somehow, some of these regions, either inside this part or inside this part, I start to see some problems, right? I stop seeing all the shape because I get blocked, right? I cannot really see some of these spots here because I get blocked by this wall. So it will be key to ask your students to draw the boundary, right? So up to where I can see. And that will mean drawing a line connecting the center and passing through the first block, so to speak, and then I can see this. Of course, if I go here, then it's even worse because I won't be able to see this part. Same here. So you could see that I can imagine the last ray, so to speak, where I'm almost blocked, so I can see up to here, and then I cannot see any of these points because if I were to draw a ray, then I'm blocked here. So that's kind of what's key to draw this limit segment, this limit ray, where I'm able to see there, but if I move a little more to the right, then I'm not able to see it. So essentially, we have this, we can still win in this quadrilateral, but we have to be strategical. It's not any place on the camera. And then it gets a little more interesting when you do more sides. Let's say, for example, let's do a 7-sided polygon. And let's shape it in a way that I get some even more dramatic deformation, so that I'm going somehow over here. Okay, so let's do something like this. And let's try to see what happens. So now it's more twisted, right? Let's just travel throughout and see if I'm able to ever have 100% yellow, right? So all coverage. So here you see that this is good, but I won't get this at all. So of course, my temptation is to start moving the camera. But if I get past this imaginary segment that would be here, once I get past that, I lose my access to this zone. So it's impossible to cover with just one camera. And that's what we have here. For which shapes, it's impossible to cover it all with just one camera. Students may not need to draw this exact type of shape or even polygons with straight sides, so they can draw any closed curve that they want. And we want really students to experiment. But so that would be a case. So you would try to get to this abstraction that build this intuition that what's common in all the cases where you want, it's that they look nice, they look pleasing, no holes, no sudden bites or like these corners. So let's go back to the 4 case, that you didn't get this type of things where you suddenly went down and went up, because then that's going to create some corner where my camera is trapped and this is hidden. So building that intuition. And same for the shapes that didn't win, right? That you didn't, that there's spots where the camera doesn't see. You could try students to make them visible by drawing segments where the 2 endpoints of the segment are inside the room or inside the shape. But as you go along, at some point you get out. You need to get out this shape. That's going to be the problem. So that means that there's a camera that cannot have access to all the points ever. So this is really nice. And so the summary is that there's 3 main types of shapes. So let's draw them here, actually, real quick, just to summarize the findings. So the great ones, because no matter where you place the camera, you win, right? So don't need a strategy. Always wins. So always cover 100%. It doesn't matter where you place it. Okay, the next category is the ones that we could say good. So you can cover 100%, but you need to strategically place the camera, right? So you need to think about where to place your camera. And such an example is the one we just looked. You cannot just randomly place it, but you have to think. And there's several options, right? There's many, many options. All the options kind of around this region lower and close by these, these segments that are invisible here, that you can make sense of it. And the last in the category are the ones that are bad. So cannot win with one camera. So later in the meeting, we'll open up the ability to use more than one camera. So that would be a good segue, a good way to go to the next parts. Cannot win with one camera. So you need more, you need 2 or more. And as we saw, we have shapes that really twist a lot where you are not able to win. Let's create such an example here. So these types of change twist a lot, they change directions a lot, so that there's not a pleasing center that would be able to. So they're far from being a circle in a very conceptual way. I mean, it doesn't matter that they have straight lines or not. That's not that we're debating, but more than they twist in a not rounded way, right? With kind of surprises along the way. So here's an example. Here in my center, I actually have 3 regions that I'm not able to cover. Here I can cover almost everything. but you still have two that are not good. Finally, let's talk about the language that you should be activating with your students. Region, shape, look at all directions, the angles, rotate 360 degrees, coverage, 100% coverage, then raise line segments or straight lines just to make sense of of how the camera works and builds the region, line of sight, then obstructions, obstacles, corners in the way, points that are hidden, out of reach, and then something more conceptual, not geometric, but more about the strategies. Can we do better? Will this always work? And why not, of course. You don't have to talk about convex sets, but here's a Wikipedia article in the teaching guide that you can, of course, take a look. And you would end up saying that we'll explore shapes that are not as simple. That's the main point of this first part, that shapes are not that simple, and we need to use strategy. And that's the interesting part of the meeting. So enjoy this meeting. Goodbye.